Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Valley of the Vibes podcast featuring Michael, who is just the most cringe person I know. Yeah, anyway, fuck you, Michael. Welcome back to episode 12.
Wow. Before we
Um,
started the recording,
Oi,
I
shut
was
the fuck up,
no,
Michael.
Kevin,
No,
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 no. Let,
Kevin,
let me finish my intro,
no.
then you can
You
explain
did
to the
finish your
viewers. No, no,
intro.
shh. No, I'm not fucking finished, mate. Shut up.
Okay, okay.
Okay, no, shut up. Welcome back to the Valley of the Vibes podcast, episode 12, where I am joined here today by my very cringe co host, Michael.
This man's is just
And
disrespectful.
shut the fuck up, you piece of shit.
Why?
Anyway, this is just such a fucking chaotic opening. What the fuck? Anyway,
Kevin, before this, okay, you can shut up now, Kevin. You had your intro.
okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's what I thought, little bitch.
Okay, hit me harder, daddy.
Gross. Do not do that. Um, Kevin, before this, I was like, oh, okay, you've done the intro the past few times. I'll take over. I'll do the intro. I'll be like, go back to old Joburg Butwares and be like, how's it, everyone? But then he was like, no, I got a surprise this week. And I was like, okay, just say it, so then we know what it's like. So just in case you fuck it up or something, you can practice because it's new. And he's like, no, it's a surprise. And I was like, why? And he was like,
Because
just,
Michael is
just,
cringe and he
just
doesn't
believe in me.
understand. He
Just
just
believe
doesn't
in me. Just trust
understand
me.
the true form of introductions.
I mean,
Like
I don't know. I don't.
the true form of an introduction is to be chaotic. Welcome to the Chaos Podcast.
Whoa.
Okay. Anyway,
I didn't know we are getting a rebrand here.
well, we're getting a rebrand. No, we're not. Anyway, back to serious matters. Welcome back to episode. I think it's 12 now. Fuck, I can't even count anymore.
Should be.
We took a 2-week break. You might have noticed that we were not in your recommended or in your search bar or on your WhatsApp status. Depends wherever you find the link, whatnot. Decided we took a 2-week break because it was holiday for both of us, and I went back to Joburg to visit a couple friends.
And I
And
greeted them up here in Joburg.
yep, and Michael was one of those friends. Had a fun time. And now we're back. And we are doing podcasts again after a 2-week break. And we have a very, very interesting topic today. I think, at least. And straight into the deep end we go, Michael. As mentioned before, you and I, we've both had relationships before. I'm pretty sure we mentioned this in episode 10, I think. But the one thing we forgot to mention in episode 10 was both of us had been through toxic relationships before, right?
Well, I wouldn't exactly call mine toxic, but go on.
You wouldn't call it toxic? Okay,
Nah.
fair enough. But I've been through a toxic relationship before. I've been through multiple relationships, so you're going to have to fucking guess which one it is.
Me or the viewers, Kevin?
It doesn't fucking matter. One of them. I'm not naming names today. No. And one of the viewers, who also happens to be one of my friends, decided to give me this topic. And she said she wanted to know how do you think you could get out of a toxic relationship? Like, what sort of method, what sort of approach is the most ideal? So, well, I don't know. Like, it's a pretty rough subject because no one wants to be in a toxic relationship. It's toxic relationships just always a just no, you know?
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, Michael's last relationship was a bit ugly towards the end. And I don't know if Michael feels comfortable sharing the details, but Michael, take it away. Tell us, what got you out of the relationship? How did you deal with the relationship?
No, okay, so let me just preface this with there's no single person that's 100% right in any end of a relationship. I'm a firm believer that there's always something you can take out about yourself, or things that you may have done wrong. things you can improve on in the future, in yourself, for yourself. I mean, because I find a
Hmm.
lot of the time what people do when they get out of relationships, and I know some people who are like this, is that they'll get out of the relationship and everything is the other person's fault, and this person broke up with me, and they ditched me for XYZ person, or whatever the story is, but they don't look back on it as like, how can I reflect to like make the situation better for the future, kind of thing. Like, when
Hmm.
it gets to something like cheating, obviously there's not a ton you can look at. Like,
Yeah.
if you did like treat her right and you gave her attention, gave her gifts, and you both are very happy, and then she cheats out of nowhere, there's not much you can look at. I'm sure if you really, really dug deep, there's something you can find.
Yeah.
Um, but that's a bit of a different one, I think.
Yeah. That's a bit of a.
So for
I don't
me,
know.
like
Yeah.
personally,
I get you.
like I find my friendships like very, very important to me.
Hmm.
Like I put
He
my
finds me
friends.
important to him.
Shut up,
Guys, he
Kevin,
finds
before I
me
make you
important.
unimportant.
Oh, okay. I'm
Fucking
sorry.
asshole. No, I'm
I'm
kidding.
sorry.
um, but no, like my friends are exceptionally, exceptionally important to me, and like when you get someone like a girlfriend in your life, as much as she also becomes very important to you, you can't just leave your friends in the dust.
That's
You know,
true. That is true.
which I know some people do. Which I mean, it's understandable. You're like a bit infatuated with the person. You're like, you want to spend time with them. You want to chat to them as much as possible. Learn how they are. Like, get to know them, like emotionally and physically, whatever, whatever. You
Hmm.
know. Um, but sometimes, for me personally, I found that kind of hard to balance because I have such a good. Well, personally, I think I have a very good relationship with like the friend group I'm associated with, like you guys and Dan and everyone else.
Yeah.
Um, so I find it a bit hard sometimes to balance between how much time do I dedicate to my friends and how much time do I dedicate to my girlfriend, right? I'm not a
Hmm.
very. I have to find a good way to phrase this.
You're not a very good boyfriend. Is that what you're trying to
No,
say?
no, 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 no. I think I was a pretty good boyfriend overall. Like I said, there's always things you can
Okay.
improve on, but
Yeah. Obviously.
like especially towards the end, I found that like it was also on top of like me losing interest in the relationship because I wasn't as invested anymore. And I was still like invested. It's not that I wanted to break up at that point. It's just like I was putting
Do
my
you think
attention
it?
elsewhere, if that makes
Do you
sense.
think it might have had something to do with compatibility?
Uh,
Because I find like I've been in 3 relationships, um, and the one that I will be talking about later after Michael's done, I feel like we just weren't incompatible. So I think that's an important factor that some people also talk about.
yeah, I think for the most part we were pretty like compatible, but it's I think we were just like we had our main interest placed elsewhere. Like I was in like a grade 2 band for piping or pipe band at the time, and then balancing that with school band, and then having to go through like end of year exams and stuff, while also preparing for solos contests and playing for the band that I was playing because they did a lot of practices and it wasn't managed
Mm-hmm.
very well in my opinion. But that's besides the point. Um, Stuff became like very hectic, and I wanted to spend a lot of time with my friends online because most of the time that I'd spend in person would be with my girlfriend. Like I'd
Yeah,
spend
no,
in person
that's
time
fair.
with her
Yeah,
unless I wanted to go to like a chillers with the boys, you know?
with the
With the
boys.
boys. Exactly. So unless I went to like a chillers and we had some bezes or whatever. We cooked some food. We cooked up the old bra. Then in-person meetings were like with my girlfriend, and
Yeah, no, that's fair.
that time was almost like exclusively for like me and her. If someone messaged me saying like, "Hey, you want to chat? Hey, you want to play games?" I'm like, "No, sorry, I'm spending time with my girlfriend today. Like, she's over, so I can't." Um, but when she wasn't like around, like physically, I would tend to spend more time with my friends playing like CS or StarCraft or Overwatch, whatever the game may be. And I think she wanted more attention on that side. I think to an extent it was like kind of greedy because you also need like time for yourself. I think alone time can be very important. And I think like having time with your friends is also very important. And she at some times wanted to take that up quite a lot.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
I get you.
but like I said, like towards the end of the relationship, I kind of like, eh, eh, and then started like giving her less attention. Then I started like giving more focus to the boys, and
Was
that,
it
and
because,
uh,
hang on, was it because of what she did before? Like the fact that she needed that, like, well, I don't want to say needed, but the fact that she wanted that much attention from you that you just sort of, like, grew kind of fatigued of giving her that attention.
um, I guess to an extent, like at the time, it was also like very because I said like I was doing a lot of things with band and
Mm-hmm.
with school, studying for finals, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Like there were a lot of things, good and bad, that went on, like in those months, and sometimes it would be like, okay, I kind of want like my own time, please, and she just like wouldn't give it. So at some point it was like a bit of, I guess you could say, burnout in a sense, but it was like
Mm-hmm.
emotional burnout because you'd been dealing with so many other things, not necessarily because of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think at some points I was like unfair with the amount of attention that I was giving her, and sometimes like I'd tease her too much about stuff, even though like it wasn't coming from like a malicious place or like from
Yeah.
a place of malicious intent, I should say. Um, but I think she'd take it like very to heart, and I think sometimes like you need to be more considerate of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think
I know,
like
yeah.
yeah. So like for me, what I took out of it was that like if I want to be in another relationship that's like semi-serious or serious, I need to spend a lot more time with the person, like physically. Also now because I have my license and stuff, it'll be a lot like
Yeah.
easier.
Yeah.
Um, and like I guess it's like control in a sense because I wouldn't want to say that I like that I lose control when I like start like teasing someone or like making fun of them for something. But I think it's just knowing
Okay.
other people's like boundaries. Like some people can't take as much as others, and you just need to learn that
Yeah.
like fairly quickly. So I think sometimes like for me that's what I took out of the relationship is that I need to give like more attention depending on the person obviously, and I need to like be more
Yeah.
mindful of their feelings kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was personally for me what I took out of it. But on her side, there's a lot of things that she can work on too, because I found her to be like relatively immature at a lot of points, and it's just the
Relatively immature.
immature.
Okay. Okay.
Why'd you sound surprised?
No, because like I get no. Now that I think about it, it's actually really it makes a lot of sense. But because like normally you would think that because normally in general girls just mature earlier than guys,
Mm,
so you would think that it would be the other way around. But maybe but like also I remember like everyone's different, so it kind of makes sense now that I actually gave it some
yeah.
thought.
Mm. But it's just yeah, like I, she find that I was immature, but I was like, okay, cool.
Ah, so it was a two-way
Um,
street. I see.
like, cause she said it like straight to me. She was like, "You're turning eight, like, or you turn." I was turning. Yeah, I was turning. Yeah, okay, no, it was last. No,
Oh, you were
yes,
turning 18,
yeah,
weren't you?
last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was trying to place in my mind when she said it to me. It's like you're turning 18 soon. Like you can't be acting like this immature. And I was like, bitch, me acting immature. It's like I found like I got quite like fed up with that statement
Okay.
because I
I
found she
see.
was acting very immature. And the people I did ask that I like conferred sounds very professional. The people I spoke to, they were like, "No, dude, you're not being immature. That's just a bit of a dick move on her part." But I won't get into the
Ah.
main reason why we
Yeah.
broke up.
Okay.
That's yeah.
No,
Which
that's fair.
so it's stuff like that. It's like different stages of our lives as well, kind of thing. You know.
Yeah.
But the important thing that I was trying to get across with something like toxic relationships is that like not everything is that person's fault and not everything is your fault either. And sometimes it might be like an 80% their fault, 20% your fault, or 90-10, whatever the like percentage. But I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that there's always something you can take out as like a retrospective, or like I can reflect back and I think I can improve on that for my next relationship, kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know what you think about that, but I think
No,
I
I
think it's the same
do.
thing for like a lot of like general situations. So it's like,
I think it's important.
yeah,
Like, I definitely agree with what you say. Like, it's never like one person's fault. It's always like, well, obviously to an extent that is, because if the boyfriend murders the girlfriend, it's not like the girlfriend's at much fault there. If you kind of get what I'm saying.
yeah, but I mean, like, imagine if like as a precursor to that, the girlfriend murdered the boyfriend's dog, for
See,
example.
yeah, there we go.
So I feel like
So
we're talking about very drastic examples, but you
yeah,
get the
yeah,
point I'm
this is
talking
like,
about.
please don't go murder your boyfriend, guys. Please
Don't murder your
don't murder your
boyfriend's dog.
girlfriend's father, guys. Oh man, but I
But
do think
yeah,
it's like,
I was
I
gonna
do
say
think it's
like
like
it's some
important.
yeah.
I do think it's important that it is important to realize that it's never like your fault, but it's also never just her fault. Like it's both of your fault.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's like one thing. But then also, you should. I do think like if you are in a relationship and you guys like these like this sort of, I don't know, it's way of thinking, I guess you could say. Um, for me at least, sort of transpires in every single aspect of life.
Yeah, that's what I was
Because it
gonna
may
say.
not
Like,
be, yeah,
I think even in a negative situation, there's still positive things that you can take out,
yeah,
right?
exactly. But also, like, for example, if you think about it, between your friends, that's a relationship as well. And if your friends, if you and your friends have a falling out or something, and if you think about it, it's never like his fault or her fault, and it's never really just your fault. It's a series of mistakes made by both parties that
Mm.
no one actually ever like tried to fix. Um,
My one friend's mom always used to like say this when we spoke about like some piece of drama when she was driving us home or something. Or she'd say it to me a lot. She'd say like, "There's always three sides to the story, my boy. Your side, their side, and the truth."
that's true.
And I was
We'll
like,
never know. We'll
"Sheesh,
never know the truth.
that's pretty deep, fam."
That's pretty deep, bro.
But Kevin,
Oh
go on
man.
about your experience with a toxic relationship or relationships. I don't know how many
Wow.
toxic
Okay.
relationships you might have
Whoa.
been in.
Whoa. Whoa.
What?
Juicy story.
Oh, you're
No.
trying to get some juicy stories and content out of me, and then I was like, yeah,
That's fair.
not your
That's
turn.
fair. That's fair. Um. So I think when it comes to like the sort of like relationship you think of when you're talking about a relationship, so like dating wise, I've only been in ever one toxic relationship. Um, and like I don't know, it was just a weird sort of situation where um no matter like if the person sort of turned it against me in a way, because you know when you end up becoming the crazy one even though you're not the crazy one.
Oh,
You get
dude,
what
it's
I'm
like the
saying?
same thing like I said with the immaturity thing.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I guess actually when you think, yeah, but it wasn't about
No,
immaturity. It
no,
was
no, but
more,
I'm saying it's like a similar concept. I'm not saying it's like
yeah,
the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's like she flipped it back towards me, and I don't know, because so she was like super flirty with other guys. Like she was just
Oof.
super flirty with other guys, and like she just had it. Also, she's just a genuinely like good, like nice person, I guess. And subconsciously, people would know that and detect that, and they would want to be with her because she's funny, she's smart, and whatnot. Um, and like I don't know, I don't think she ever did it on purpose. Like she never really went out of her way to flirt with someone.
The unintentional
Um,
flirt.
but it
Classic.
was just like, yeah, the unintentional flirt. I don't look, man. Like people might do things that I could never dream of. Maybe she was intentional flirting, but to me, she didn't seem like that because she just seemed like that sort of person to just be a really nice person, help out where she can, and then that ends up where she ends up flirting with another guy. And every
Mm.
time I like mention something about it, she'd sort of just brush it off and go, I think you're just reading too much into it. And like for the first two times, I'm a pretty stubborn guy,
Oh,
I'd like
Kevin,
to
you're
think.
you're making me want to talk about what happened. Like, because that kind of thing is like very similar to what happened with me, and I'm very tempted to talk about it. But go on with your story.
Okay. I don't know, Michael maybe can agree with me here, but I'm a pretty stubborn guy sometimes, right? And
Sometimes. Kidding.
wow, wow. No,
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 guys,
like I
trust
do
me with the
agree.
intro. Trust me with the intro.
Shut the fuck up, Michael. You're cringe.
Shut up.
No, but like sometimes I am a bit stubborn, I guess. And and she's kept
Fuck.
saying you're reading into it too much. You're reading into it too much, and I was being stubborn, so I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm not reading into it at all. Like you're just flirting with other guys, even if you're unintentionally
Oh,
flirting. You're
bro.
just being really close to these other guys,
I'm also,
and it doesn't make me feel great.
I'm
Yeah.
also very, very stubborn. And when her and I like had arguments, that's another thing I admit that I could work on. Is that I'm very stubborn. My mom says it about me too. Because if I want to argue something that I think is right, right, she says that if I wanted to, I could argue with that black is blue.
I get what that. Yeah.
Have you heard that saying before?
Yes, I have.
I was like, I'm not that stubborn. I was like, then she just like my mom. She like laughs at me, and I'm like, what? Why are you laughing? She's like, my child. If you wanted to, you could argue that black is blue. You're so stubborn. And I was like, I mean,
You
like,
might be right, but you also might be
so
wrong.
I, like, if I think back to it, like when I got into arguments with her, or I'm also very competitive. So
Yeah.
when it came to like messaging each other about stuff, and sometimes we do like, the like cutesy shits with like, oh, I'll send you a longer good night message, honey, or you know,
Oh God, cringe.
yeah, I know, or whatever, like whatever the
Nah, you
situation
do
was.
you, bro. I think
Then
that's actually pretty cute, to be honest.
I mean, like it seemed really sweet, but then I think she started getting like annoyed because I'd always send longer ones, just because
Wow.
of my
Okay.
competitive nature, because I always wanted to like win. And she
Yeah.
like came back at me the one day and she was like, you know, you're very competitive and like you never let me win anything and it makes me sad. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry,
Oh,
but
I'm sorry.
it's the way I am. Like
Yeah. No. Yeah. I
when
get you.
like some of my friends that play or that used to play, I don't play that often. Speaking of, I actually ignored one of them today by accident. I just realized.
Whoa,
Oopsie doopsie.
whoa!
I was actually meant to play
Content?
Minecraft
Question mark?
with said person, but I actually completely forgot. That's my bad. I'll make it up
Ooh,
to them. I hope.
spicy.
Anyway, like I said to them, like when you play something like CS, that I wouldn't go easy on them unless they like ask me to, so they can figure something out, or if I see they're directly struggling with something.
Yeah,
So like I'd put them into like a 1v1 map, and I'd put the warm up to infinite, and I'd say like, okay, you know, kill me as many times as you can, and I'd be at like 100 kills, and they'd maybe be at like 11, because they're
yeah.
just not as experienced as me. I have like 1,300 hours in CS.
You literally
Oh, actually, no, I
live in
lie. I've got
CS.
1,600 hours. Oh, I mean, not recently.
Mm,
No,
okay,
I mean, I've had 11.5 hours in the last 2 weeks, but it's just been open in the
okay,
background on
okay.
my computer a lot.
Ah, I see.
Mm,
Okay,
the classic. But
the classic.
the I don't let people win very easily, and people can get very frustrated with that. And I
Yeah,
said to them like, look, the logic is right. If I'm like winning and winning and winning, you know, and eventually you start killing me more and more and more, you know how much you're improving, and if you actually beat me, then you know that you haven't done it because I went easy on you.
yeah. I
You
guess
know,
that's
so
a
it's
way of
like a
saying it.
it's a genuine victory, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that's generally how I viewed it. But I felt kind of bad when she said that to me because I was being like so competitive, and I was like, oh, you make me feel kind of bad. I was like, but surely you don't just like want me to let you win. She was like, no, but like give me a chance at the very least. You know, like
Yeah,
make
I
it
get.
competitive, but give a chance. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I see what you mean. I'm sorry. So
No,
then,
one thing I like learned from just being in relationships, and I have a younger sister, so like, there's you also learn how I don't want to like generalize it, but generally, like you learn how women are and how they think, and you get to see a girl go through the different stages of life.
this is when you said when you have a sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds a bit creepy, I know, but actually, this really sounds really
I
bad,
mean,
doesn't it?
no, no, I wouldn't say it's creepy. It makes sense because you
Yeah,
live with
these are
that person.
yeah, I've basically witnessed her go through pretty much every like major stage of womanhood, which is which is pretty cool, like but also it makes me realize, and I'm actually quite grateful for this because having this like sister actually like taught me a lot of like how to let others win, I guess, in a way. So I don't really have a problem when it comes to that, but like I do have a problem, and I think this also comes because I have a sister. Um, I get quite defensive about myself sometimes, and like I know because it sounds a bit like oh, it's a bit weird, but like you you've got to realize my sister, like she's good with her words. I'm not great with words. I'm more of a action guy. Like I can't like public speaking.
Action
I can't
man.
even I can't even make coherent sentences like half fucking time. Um, and then so obviously, if it ever comes to an argument or like we're teasing each other, she's gonna out tease me. She's gonna out argue me because that's just the way she is, right? But it's so I don't know. I get pretty defensive about myself sometimes, and I think because of that, when my ex was like, "Oh, you're reading into it too much," I never really believed her. I was like, no, I'm not reading it into much and whatnot. And I don't like I genuinely still don't think I was reading into it too much because like the way she was acting with other guys just like yeah, no, it was I think there's a line. Like there's a line between being friendly with other guys and then being flirty with other guys. You know?
I mean, it
There's a
also
definite
depends
line
on
there.
your like definition of like flirty. You know, like depends on like what she'd be
No,
saying. That
it
makes
was like
sense.
they really flirted so they flirted a lot. Like for example, the one guy would go, "Oh, you look really pretty today," and she'd go, "Oh, thank you very much. I wore my best dress just for you."
Okay, yeah, that's over the
And
line.
meanwhile, I'm there like, "Wait, what?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute. What the fuck is this? What's going on here?" Um, but yeah, it was that sort of thing, and like I think that's just it's like yeah, you could have like sure maybe the guy was just complimenting her,
She
but
didn't
then
have
she
to
could have
respond like
just
that
gone
though.
yeah no she could have just gone why thank you and that's it right like stop it there and yeah and then I think also it got pretty toxic more towards like the middle of the like middle to the end of the relationship where basically I realized to myself I was like what the fuck am I doing? I'm like head over heels for this chick. I'm turning a blind eye to literally everything this chick is doing. Why do I do this to myself? Right? And then I realized like I guess what happened was I sort of just stopped caring. And then I think maybe she wanted sort of attention. And that's why maybe she was flirting with other guys. Now that I really think about it, I think that might be a reason. She was just looking for more attention. But after I realized to myself, I was like, no, this like can't go on. It's just not. It's just fucked up, right? I just stopped giving her attention, like as much attention, and then it just kind of fell apart from there. But yeah, so it was just like a whole shit show towards the end. My word. But also, I
Yeah,
was
I get you.
quite young at the time. By quite young, I mean like, talking like grade 10. So actually, every time I say I was quite young at the time, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm only 18. I'm not that old. But like in the context, because I feel like ever since COVID, like I honestly think that everyone who tried to matriculate during COVID is just a lot like fucking just figured out how to be mature very quickly. Because you sort of needed that maturity to pass matric because you had to go, right, I'm actually going to sit down today and I'm actually going to work.
Yeah, I found like a lot of the people that were like very annoying in earlier years of school were a lot. I mean, admittedly, we didn't really get a matric here, but um,
Yeah, that's true.
um, when we did land up seeing them every now and again, like they weren't like as bad, and I think the grade was very like together emotionally. No one like outright hated each other, if that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah,
especially at the matric dance or matric event, whatever they called it. I don't know. A lot of people that I didn't really like previously were like, I've never really made myself a person to hate, to be fair, but there were some people that were just like unjustly mean sometimes. You always get those
yeah,
people.
yeah.
It's just natural.
Just immature
Yeah,
people.
and like they came up to me and like they gave me elbow bumps or fist bumps. The COVID handshake. Um,
I feel
but
like
yeah, it's yeah,
I just feel like from 16 to 18 is actually like a massive stage, specifically for guys. I'm not too sure for girls, but I think for guys, it's like a massive maturity like
Kevin.
time,
If we
right?
if Dan doesn't come back to the podcast, we can get a third host and she can be female. How about that? Then we
That's a
can
good plan.
we can ask her questions about girls. When it comes
How
to
do
boy
girls
talk,
work?
then she can be
Yeah.
like, "What the fuck, guys?"
You're so scuffed. What the fuck?
and then
Oh man.
then she starts explaining what
Anyway.
girls do, and we're just like, "Yeah, that's kind of whack." Not gonna lie.
Yo, actually, if we ever start talking about these like relationship problems, we actually need like a woman's perspective because like this feels very one-sided to talk about
Even though
because
we're
maybe
trying very hard to not be biased.
yeah, no, we're trying very hard to actually like give you what we genuinely felt and like try to understand what the other person felt. But we're guys. We experience emotions slightly differently than women. Yeah,
Testosterone.
I think. Oh, big man.
Testosterone. Ugh.
Oh man.
It's just...
Um, but yeah, but I think actually we never answered the question, Michael. It's how to get out of a toxic relationship. So we
Um,
described both our toxic relationships, even though
yeah,
you said yours was not as toxic.
yeah.
Um,
So, okay, I
how do you
think
think is the best way to deal with it though,
I think
and like
relying on
get
your
out of
friends
this?
is a very big thing. Like, if you have your friends, like I didn't. If I was in a toxic relationship, I think maybe it would have been like, I don't know. I think
Would have been like, yeah,
I'm trying to think because I consider myself to be like pretty emotionally independent most of the time.
mm-hmm.
So, as in like, if someone's being a bitch, I can tell, kind
Yeah,
of thing. But not everyone can. I feel so narcissistic saying that. It's just, but so like, I didn't involve you guys in my relationship, right?
yeah, yeah. You know, you didn't.
I introduced like Dan and like two other people on like the night that her and I like had our first date. So Dan knew her, and then one other person from that night, no, two other people from that night knew her, and then I took her out to a thing, like a double date with one of my friends. Like after that, so she knew some of my friends, but I didn't introduce her to many. Um, so maybe if I was in an actual like genuine toxic relationship, I would have struggled to get out of it because that's the way that I see getting out of it.
Yeah,
But I think it's hard to say, oh, I would have been able to get out of one by myself if you haven't actually been in one yourself. You know.
I
So
see.
as much as I could say like, like I said, I feel like I'm very emotionally independent a lot of the time, and I feel like I'd be able to see if someone's like acting like a bitch. I've never been in a really bad toxic relationship, so I wouldn't be able to give
Yeah,
tips from experience, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But the way I would imagine it is if you speak to your friends about it. Because when the big thing that happened in my relationship, like that was the final straw for me, I was like, I'm tired of her now. I went
yeah,
to a lot of people and I was like, this is what she's doing. Personally, I don't think it's fair, but I want to get multiple perspectives to see if I'm maybe just overreacting. Because when I
yeah,
went and asked my dad, he was like, no, man, you're overreacting. I'm like, dude, how? So then I was like, okay, I'll go see if I'm overreacting. So then I spoke to a bunch of people in like my IT class, and some people in my science class, and then spoke to like my best mate about it. Then a bunch of other people as well, and they're all like, "No, that's kind of whack of her." And I suppose to an extent, it's probably like the same on her side. She went and asked her friends, "Oh, he did this, this, and this," and they're like, "No, that guy's being such a dickhead." Jeez, like, you know.
yeah.
Um, even though I don't think I was being unfair. Man, you're getting me
Such a
into it, Kevin. You're
so
getting
hard
me
to talk
into it.
about. Actually, no, it's
It
really
is.
difficult to like talk about because you're like, in retrospect, everything becomes slightly more clear, and you're like, actually, now that I think about it, I was being a bit of an idiot back then as well. To be fair, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for this particular situation, I don't feel like I was. But like I said, like what led up to it, I feel like I was a bit unfair to like certain extents about stuff.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, so asking your friends who have had experience in relationships and have gone through the toxic relationship thing and whatever, whatever. If you ask them, they're just like, no, dude, she's just like straight up abusing you. 90% of the time, your friends most likely aren't lying to you because they're your friends and they've stuck with you through thick and thin. And you've known her for like however many months and you might love her a lot, but if she's treating you like shit, bro, it's just better to leave it.
yeah. No, I agree.
I think you need to trust your friends a lot in in a
You know,
relationship.
now that I think about it, right? Like, in my scenario, like in my situation, my friends basically, because eventually it got to the point where it got to my head where I was like, maybe I am a bit crazy, because like she said this so many times to me, and then even like the guy, because she was friends with those guys, and then those guys obviously, naturally they become friends with me because I know them through her. um and then eventually it's just like those guys also say, no, Kevin, you're reading into it too much. And then eventually you think to yourself, when there's an overwhelming amount of people saying the same thing, you're like, maybe they're right. And actually, like, I was actually like known as the crazy one, which is kind of sad. But yeah, no, like,
I'm sorry to laugh if it is like genuinely
having
sad, but yeah,
no, it was actually like, it was not a great time,
no, I can
actually.
imagine.
But like, and then having friends, at least, like what they did, basically, like some of my close friends, they were just like, Kevin, what the fuck? Like, no, you're not reading into it too much. You're just like, you need to discover, quote unquote, your self-worth again, because it gets to that point where you sort of feel like you're doing everything wrong, and then your friends are there,
I
at
know,
least, and they're like,
I know that.
no, I got you. Like, you're not doing everything wrong. You just think you are, but you're not.
Because
Which
I
is
think
always,
it's like hammered into you almost, you know,
yeah, it is,
like
yeah.
because when people get angry, like they might shout, they might whatever. Like I'll get into another part of the relationship that I'll talk about that in a second. Um,
Okay, ooh, spicy.
now I just lost my train of thought, but I remember the other thing.
Oh,
um,
okay.
what did you say?
What do you mean? What did I say?
I was going to continue off of what you said, but what did you say? I'm trying to get my train of thought
Oh,
back here.
I was saying like, eventually
Oh,
it
okay.
gets to a
I
point
already
where,
remember. Okay.
okay, wow, okay,
Sometimes you just
moved
need to
right
hear the
back
other
to me.
person's voice. Um, like people get very angry and, you know, they'll dig into the really small things and they'll make you like seem like the villain to everyone else, and they'll get their friends to attack you about like, oh, you're treating her like shit, how could you do that, and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
the same thing you said, like an overwhelming amount of people that feel like it's against you, these overwhelming amount of points, or you know oh, you made me cry when this happened, oh, you made me like react this way when this happened, and yeah. So the story that I was gonna get into with my side of the relationship was I was like sort of in the middle, because on one hand, like I was really frustrated with some of the things that she did. When I say that
hmm,
I was like tired of her, it's like I'm annoyed with some of the stuff she does, but it's not that I dislike her at that exact moment.
yeah, yeah,
So I wanted to talk about it, but I wanted to talk about it in person, right? So I think that's the proper way to handle things personally.
no, yeah, that's fair.
Because doing it over text, like you can't sense if people are being like properly facetious, or they're being like, maybe the person's actually really sad about something and they're like, no, I'm fine. But it's over text, so you can only read the words and you can't like listen to the meaning behind those words based off tone of voice or their facial expressions or their
Yeah,
body language. A
yeah,
call is like, eh, it's like, it's a bit better, but it's not there. You can hear their voice, but it's not everything you'd want. So for me personally, I want to talk about what's going on in person.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we managed to, like when I was in the relationship with her, we managed to get the time and date done when we were gonna meet with each other, and we're like, listen, we just want to like talk about it, because I don't think at the moment either of us want the relationship to end.
We need to sort some shit out, boys. Let's go.
Exactly. But it's like it's talking to each other like you're adults,
Yeah,
and you're not adults because you're both teenagers, but it's a mature thing to do regardless.
yeah,
So when I started talking to her, you know, we were chatting, but we never got around to the thing. And when I was like, listen, like it's been a solid like 2 hours we've sat here now and like walking around doing whatever in the shopping center, and we still haven't discussed what we came here to discuss.
Yeah.
It is hard to get into topics, that are
Yeah.
serious because
Dude, it's
if
always a little bit awkward.
if one person starts breaking down, then you're like, I'm sorry, pet. Um, okay, you're still crying. I don't know what to do here.
Goodbye.
But I was like really frustrated, and she was like, "No, it hurts too much to talk about." And I was like, "And why did you come?" Like that was the purpose of this. And then, like, I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna like force the conversation because then if you start crying in the middle of the shopping center, everyone's gonna be like, geez, like, what a fucking dickhead," you know."
Yeah, that
So,
that would be pretty bad.
so we got home and she was like all chirpy and happy over the phone, and I was like still kind of pissed off. And she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "We still haven't resolved our issues. We just like met with each other. That's literally all we did." Do you think, like, in that situation, would you think that it's right for me to be like annoyed? Because I think it's right for me to be annoyed.
I don't know. I don't know if it'd be like. I don't know if annoyed would be like the best thing to do, like the best mood specifically to be in. I think like just telling her that you're annoyed is the right thing to do though. But I don't think like being annoyed is. It's a bit weird. See, I don't know. It really depends on how well you know this girl and how well your relationship at the time was going. Because, like, for example, in a different relationship I had, one that wasn't toxic, like, I could be annoyed with this girl, and like, I can tell her, like, I'm annoyed with you, and I would be, like, emitting the emotion of annoyance
Hmm.
or being annoyed. I was just pissed off, right?
Yeah.
And she would know that, and then because of that, she'd automatically. I know what she would do. I know she would sort of drop, well, 50-50 drop what she was doing, if depending on if it was important or not, and then like we'd talk about it, right? But then also in a few other relationships I had, um, it's also like I'm annoyed, but at the time, being annoyed isn't the right way of resolving it. Just because the person, like I knew the person at the time, would sort of just be like, "Well, why are you annoyed?" And then a whole fight would break out.
Yeah.
You know,
No, I get that.
so
Yeah.
so I
But
think it
so
depends more on the
I think
person.
I think it does depend on the person, but I think it also depends on the level of the issue, right?
Yeah, I guess I
So
could understand that.
if it's a small thing, then it's like, yeah, you can talk about it another time. You can be annoyed with her, but like you don't have to directly voice it. Just chat about it the next time you see her, kind of thing. But I feel like for my case, because this is like the relationship ending kind of problem for me.
Hmm.
Like I feel like we needed to get this resolved, especially because we both didn't have much time after that.
Yeah,
So because she was like, "Oh no, it hurts too much to talk about," then it's like you can understand the frustration there, right?
yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think this is enough about this topic before everyone just starts tearing up and crying. Um, speaking of like being in these toxic relationships, I do think one of the genuinely one of the best ways to um deal with a toxic relationship is just not be in one in general. Like just
Not be
don't
in a
be in one to
relationship.
begin with. No, like don't be it's like like I am a firm believer that
Ah,
you should
looking out for
always.
red flags, huh?
Yeah, but like how you look out for red flags, right? Like personally for me, they are different like levels of red flags in a way,
Oh, of
because
course.
like there are some red flags that are just like a big no, I do not want to associate with you. And there are other red flags where it's just like I wouldn't date you, but like I wouldn't mind you being a friend. You know those sort of red flags.
Yeah.
Do you kind of get me? Because
Yeah,
like
I think I get you.
I'll give you an example, right? There's a girl I know, and for all the girls I know a lot of girls. So
Player.
not trying to roast any one of you here. I'm not. I'm just stating a story, right?
All the Steely's goals are gonna come for you now, Kevin.
Oh, I'm
Watch
fucked,
out.
mate. But yeah, there's a girl I know who she's a genuinely like good person, nice person. But one of the red flags for me personally is that she doesn't exactly have the best management of like just her life in general. Sounds pretty bad now I say it, but like no, like she doesn't have the best time management, money management, uh, like just life management in general. But it's not that sort of red flag where it's like I wouldn't be friends with you. It's like I love this person as a friend. Like she's just awesome, right?
Mm.
But if I were to date her, you see these issues, I can already imagine these issues being a problem. And that's a red flag for me. I was like, I'm not even gonna think about dating this person, but I would love to have this person as a friend. So that's what I mean by there's different like levels of red flags, you know?
Yeah. So
So
what? Okay, yeah, you go.
so I was just saying like one of the biggest things I genuinely believe in also is I before I date anyone, I have to be friends with this person for a time, right? For like a allocated amount of time or something. Because I just think it's weird, like not like date, just like oh, one day you go, oh, let's date, and it's just someone you knew like for not even a month, and you're not like the closest friends, but you like her and she likes you, and you start dating, and it's a bit, it's a bit like you don't know me, I don't know you. Maybe there's a chance it works out, but also maybe there's a chance that we end up having a fight and we just never talk to each other ever again, type of thing.
Yeah.
And messy breakups are just, it's always better to avoid messy breakups. So like one of the, I just think it's really important to first become friends with this person, first be able to, it sounds really bad because it sounds like I'm stalking people, but like scout out their red flags.
Mm.
Um,
So
if you're friends
like,
with me, I don't do this like specifically, but over time, your red flags will start creeping in and we will notice these things. But yeah, I do
yeah.
think it's
So
important. That's how
what do
you get
you?
your red flags.
What would you say? Like, don't name any names, obviously, but like, think of a person in your mind and say like, what would that person's red flags be? Why wouldn't you date them?
Okay.
So like,
I already have a
what
person.
are? Because it can also be like a pet peeves kind of thing. Something
Yeah,
that
yeah.
just like really
Like
bothers
red
you, and you're
flags are
like, for
pet
me,
peeves,
that's a red
basically.
flag.
Yeah.
You
Like
know?
they are red flags. Like, she likes lying or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
or there's like
that's a big one.
red flags, which is like pet peeve sort of red flags. But like either way, red flags just is something you try to avoid. And it can differ from person to person. So back to your thing. Think of one person, and so this particular person,
Do you think this
again,
particular
wonderful
person will
friend.
know who they're talking about? Who you're talking about?
I'm gonna try to describe it in a way that they won't. Um,
They just come
I
at you
don't
with
I
a
don't
knife
think
next time they see you. You
I don't think she
motherfucker!
listens to the podcast though, so it's fine. No, I don't think she listens to the podcast though. But this particular person,
Next thing she does, Kevin can't return for next week's episode, guys.
if I'm not here for next week's episode, you guys know why.
I'm gonna have to get a new host. Oh no.
Maybe it could be a woman, Michael. Oh man, but
Oh no.
this particular person, for me, she's like wonderful friend, right?
Yeah.
But one of the red flags that I noticed from her is that she's just she I don't know if she's doing it on purpose or something, but she kind of plays hard to get constantly.
Do you know if she's interested in you or not? Is that why she's doing
Um,
it?
Look, I'd rather not delve into the details here because it might
Okay.
give away who this girl is. But we don't delve into these details, okay? Um, but like, here's the thing: the important part was she was playing too hard to get. Well, it's a terrible way of describing it, actually, because it doesn't make much sense. But she is the sort of person where you literally like next to her, for example, and she's literally not doing it. Well, maybe she's writing her a notebook or something, or she's looking at her phone, or she's not even doing it. She's just like daydreaming, and then you go, person's name, person's name, and you call this person like multiple times, and eventually it feels like you definitely know this person can hear you, right? Because you're like literally next to her, screaming at her, like she can definitely hear you. So it's either she's ignoring you on purpose or she's ignoring you by accident. And and this person like does this a lot. Like she just always does this. And it gets to the point where it feels like she's ignoring you on purpose to get you to try get her attention more, pay her more attention in a way, right? And for me, that's a bit of a red flag when it comes to dating because it's like, I don't really want to, like, I think the chase is great and all, and, early love is great and all, but like, I've been in some long relationships and trust me, it gets to a point where you just want to be comfortable with this person, right? And in my mind, like, the fact that I have to continuously call for her and get her attention and whatnot for like sometimes 10 minutes. I'm not even joking. Like sometimes like
Is
five to
this
ten
like
minutes
in person?
in person.
Oh
Yeah,
my
five,
god.
10 minutes in person to just try and get this person to look at me. Um, that's just a big red flag when it comes to dating.
I just give up.
Uh,
Jesus.
yeah. No, I like yeah. Eventually, you give up. But here's like that's the reason why it is a red flag because eventually you give up because you get frustrated, and then
It's like this one thing. I saw a post on Instagram, right? It
mm-hmm.
was this like text conversation. It was one of those like shitty res ones, so you don't know if it's real or not. But
I see.
so I'm pretty sure like the precursor of the conversation would be like the dude asking, "Oh, like why won't you date me?" kind of thing, and she's like, "You're too perfect," right? And he was like, "That doesn't make any sense." And she's like, "Well, all girls save the good ones for later in life, right?"
That's the
So
wow.
they keep.
Okay.
I don't know if it's true. I don't think. Obviously, I don't think it's true for like every single girl. Um,
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find it as well. But I'll carry on talking about it in the meantime. It's been literally all over my feed. Um, but it's like, uh, they all like save them for like a later date in life because you know you wouldn't want to save that you wouldn't want to date that person now in fear of losing them because of some dumb teenage shit. So you'd prefer to
Yeah.
like you look at them as like, oh, I can have you as a husband one day.
I don't know. I don't know if that's a red flag for like
Personally,
me or if that's a red
personally,
flag for her. What the fuck?
I think that's really dumb. When you look at someone, you're
Yeah, I
like,
do think it's pretty stupid, but like
and yeah, I'll see.
people
Let me
be
actually.
people.
I'm pretty sure I could Google it actually. Um,
But I don't know. I feel like red flags. I don't know. Red flags are like weird because like it might also just be pet peeves. Like for example, I'm not saying there are people who do this. Well, actually, no, there are people who do this, but I'm not naming names. Um, I like cleanliness. Yeah, cleanliness, right? Like I clean my room, I wash my clothes at a certain time. Like I'd like to have more clean clothes than dirty clothes. I don't like things all over the place. And then for me, a red flag would be when all of a sudden there's a person who comes barreling into my life and then it's just a mess. Like this person just leaves mess after mess after mess,
mm,
and I have to clean it up. And that for me is a red flag because I feel like I don't know. I feel like life philosophy just be like, I think it just be a general rule of you use it, you clean it, and clean it now type of thing.
You know, I said that in our return podcast, and Alex
Yeah.
called me out so hard. She's like, I know you, motherfucker. I know you don't do that. And I was like, yeah, but it's the concept, Alex.
Oh man.
I mean, I'm not
But
wrong.
yeah, I mean you're not wrong. So yeah, I mean, like I do think it's important when it comes to red flags. Actually, I just thought of a good red flag,
Hmm.
Michael. Um, not being able to, what's the word? Not being able to hold a conversation. For me personally,
Oh
is
my
just
god, dude.
such a big red flag.
When people are like, you try so hard to have a conversation with them, like, hey, you know, how's your day? How are your classes going? Like, fine. And that's
Yeah,
it.
it's just like,
It's just like, you're not gonna
like
ask me
like
about
I don't
mine.
mind. Like I'm not saying it like if you're an introverted person, it's not a bad thing because there will be people who it's gonna sound really bad, but there will be people who are into that, right? And who know how to deal with that. But like when it's like in terms of me, who I already struggle to hold a conversation by myself, um, I think it's a bit of a red flag because I'm gonna try have a conversation. You're gonna try have a conversation. And we're just gonna sit there in awkward silence for 20 minutes, and that's just a bit of a yikes.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah,
is.
but that's more like pet peeve sort of yikes red flags.
For me,
But I think
like a red flag
like
for me
yeah,
is like, how do I explain? It's like when you really enjoy like spending time with someone and you try and make plans with them and they're like, oh, I'll get back to you. But then they
mhm,
don't get back to you,
mhm. That
you know?
is a bit rough. Yeah.
Or like, hey, let's go out this time, this date. Uh, no, sorry, I can't. But they don't like give a reason. Or it's like, oh, I have this really odd excuse. I have the post here as well. So the girl's like, I only friend zoned you because you're too perfect. So he's like, that makes no sense. She says, you'd make a better husband than boyfriend, and I wanted to keep you around until the time was right. If we ever dated and broke up, I'd hate to lose you forever. All girls keep the good ones around until the time is right.
That's a yikes, bro.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a
I
yikes.
mean, it's like all good and well that you keep the good ones around until the good ones find a good one for themselves and then you don't have them anymore and you lose them anyways.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's more of just you red flagging yourself, to be honest.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
a bit.
but to continue the red flags for me, like sometimes I'll make plans with people. I'm like, hey, you wanna go out sometime? And then I'll be like, yeah, I'll need to check my schedule. Um, and I was like, okay, cool. Just get back to me. 2 hours pass, 4 hours pass, a day passes. And I'm like, hey, we're supposed to like meet with each other later today. Any news? Oh, sorry, I can't come. I
Yeah.
think so. It's like if it's an all the time thing, then it's like a very big red flag for me. But if
Mhm.
it's like sometimes they can, sometimes they can't kind of thing, then it's like I'll forgive you to an extent.
Yeah. Actually, this reminds me of a good point. Like, Michael, what do you think about? What's your opinion on the game? The texting game. You know what I'm talking about?
I think it can be very, very important.
No, but do you know what game? Do you know what I'm actually referring to, Michael?
The texting game, you said,
Yeah, but like, what part of it?
like keeping up the conversation, or you mean like
No,
that
no,
part
no,
of
no,
it?
no. I'm talking about the part where you like the person messages you and you kind of ignore their message for like 3 hours, then you reply. That's the texting game, Michael.
Um.
I fucking hate it. I think it's just
So
fucking
okay, okay.
why the fuck
No,
are you
no, no, no.
doing this?
So I think I still maintain that I think it's important, right? But I don't think it should be done for very long. I think it should be done like very early on in the beginning. So like, it's how do I explain? Like if you first meet the person and they message you, and you get back to them in like an hour or two. Like
Yeah,
after that, and you guys start talking to each other, you get familiar with each other. Then you just chat like you would normally. You message people back like you normally would. You get a message, you
yeah,
look at your
yeah.
phone, you message them back. At the beginning, I think it can be useful to like generate interest on like both parties. It's like, oh, I want to get to know this person more, and creates like a bit of like a desire
I
to
don't know.
chat
I
to
think
people
it
more.
just
But I think after a certain point, which is relatively early on after you start doing it, it
I
needs to
think
just stop and you need to start chatting to the people like you
for
normally would.
me in general, a rule of thumb would be like the fucking first weekend. That's it, bro. Okay,
No,
I'll
that's
give
fair.
you 1 week to sort your shit out because like it's been done to me so many times, and I end up just like
Yeah,
losing interest. I'm just like
I've been
this
ignored
this
for like
chick,
weeks at a time before, and they get back to
and
me.
you
Oh,
know
I've been so
sometimes these
busy.
people,
Oh, I'm
sometimes
sure
these
you
people are
have.
retarded, Michael. They read the fucking message and then they don't reply, and you're just like,
Oh, dude,
my god,
that one's just
if
like,
you're gonna do it properly.
yeah.
Put
At
your
least like,
phone away.
don't read the message. Just like scroll it down your phone, read what they have to say, and then like yeet your
Just
phone away
wisely.
somewhere.
Yeah, like what the fuck? I don't know. Like for me personally, like
I have to admit, personally, I have like um gotten kind of bad with that. Well, I've gotten better now, but at one stage I was like really, really bad with it. Um,
yeah, I'm not great at responding either. But like
because sometimes I'll look at my phone and I'll be like, I should respond to that, and then I'll put my phone down. Like, yeah, after this game with my friends, I'm in the middle of a round of CS or something. Then the round of CS happens, I die or something.
and you
Then
just kind of
it
forget.
it doesn't like cross my mind that I should look at my phone and message that person again while I wait for the round to end.
Yeah.
So then I forget for like the next 40 minutes. And then I take a look at my phone, like, oh shit, I should message this person. But then the same thing happens again, and then I end up mising for hours sometimes. But I
Yeah.
have gotten a lot better with trying to
I
remember.
do think I do
It
think it's
depends on
quite
the person too,
easy.
for me.
Yeah, but I think it's also quite easy to tell whether or not they're doing it on purpose,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like for example, like if you send a message and then 4 hours later they reply, you might think, maybe they're trying to play the texting game. And then you send a message again some other time, and then like it takes them literally 30 seconds to reply. And it's sort of this like inconsistent pattern. Then I feel like that's not them doing it on purpose, because that sort of reflects me in that sometimes like I get a notification and I'm like, oh, okay, so this person texted me. And I'm like, cool, I'm gonna quickly finish this worksheet and then I'll go message them back or something.
Mm.
I finish the worksheet, end up fucking doing lunch, end up going out with friends. Next thing you know, it's like 4 or 5 hours later, and you're like, right,
Oh shit, I
now
have that
let's
message
check
on my
the
phone.
phone. Yeah, exactly. Um, but I do think, like, I don't know, I just think in general, the whole texting game when it comes to like ignoring the other message is just stupid. Like,
No,
for
definitely.
me, generally, I don't know. Like, also, I don't want you to, I don't want to seem desperate, because that's what the way you want, like the fear of it. That's why people do it, right? Because you don't want to seem desperate.
Yeah.
But I just think it's like it's actually just yeah. Like for me personally, if the person takes 3 hours to reply, my rule of thumb is then I will take 3 hours to reply. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna reply instantly if you didn't reply instantly. But if you replied instantly, well then I'll fucking reply like
It's like
right as you
treat others
message me.
as you'd like to be treated.
Yeah. But then also that only goes for certain people. Because like if it's my friends, right? I sort of just mess like if you message me, I'll get back to you as soon as I can when my brain decides, yes, you have that message, you know? Um but then if it's like a girl that I barely know, like for example, you go out and you get a girl's number and then you
Sheesh.
start talking
Kevin's
up
being
with
a
her.
player out there.
Whoa, hype me up
Sheesh.
like that. That's just hypothetical situation, bro.
Hypothetical. I see what you did there. Cheeky,
Hypothetical.
cheeky.
But like that sort of thing. And then I feel like the general rule of thumb for me would just be however long you take to text me is however long I'm going to take to text you.
Yep.
Right? I don't know. I just think that's the best way to do it. But also, I'm not really strict on it. It's not like I fucking time myself.
Yeah,
If they
no.
take 3 hours, and I take 3 hours. It's not like that. It's just like
It depends
you guys
for
take.
me. Like, it depends on how spiteful I'm feeling a lot of the time. It's like
It depends how
so,
spiteful I feel.
sometimes people take
Fuck you,
hours to message me.
especially.
They'll take hours to message me. Then I'll get the message from them, and then I'll reply to them instantly. And it's not because I'm desperate or anything. It's just like, I didn't have anything on that particular moment, and I was like, let me just get the message over and done with, and then message them. I think a lot of people perceive like messaging back quickly as like being desperate, which it isn't always.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's just being like a punctual messenger. Messenger, yeah.
yeah. I get you. I feel like I don't know. It really depends for me on the person. But I feel like in general, just girls, if you're listening to this, just don't do it. It's just such a stupid thing. Guys as well. I think guys actually do it more than girls, or I might be wrong on that, but
It's because the
I just
girls have
think it's
learned
a
from the
waste
guys,
of.
Kevin.
I feel
No.
like it might have actually been like that. Who knows? I
Yeah,
just feel like it's just such a worthless waste of time. You know, if you like this guy,
just go for it.
go for it.
Just shoot your shot.
Like I'll get like to be fair, I'll give you a week to play the texting game. After that, if you're still doing that, like fuck off. Like for me personally, I just go fuck off. I don't have the energy to do that, like deal with that shit anymore.
I mean, it's the same logic as like the thing that you said with like the girl that like you'd like talk to, and then she just like blatantly ignore you. It's the same logic, just like over a phone.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's just
more inconspicuous. Like not inconspicuous, more like honestly, like the descriptive word for saying like silent. It's more like I can't think of the word, but it's more like hidden in a sense.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean. So, but when you're doing it in person, obviously you can't hide it as well as you'd like, because when you ignore a person in person, then they're like, "Yeah, that person's just like outright avoiding me right now. That's kind of dick, bro."
Either she's deaf or she's outright just ignoring me. I wonder which one it is.
Yeah. Hey, man.
Oh, man. Wow, we've been through. I feel like we've just delved into everyone's fucking past, and we've just like come out the other end.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Man, that sounds like my high school trauma."
I feel like actually everyone relates to this sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone does to an extent. It's,
So
yeah.
you know what? I think that's it. No, fuck it. Well, I'm calling it right here. That's it. This is the end of this podcast. We've talked way too much. We've delved
I
into
think
way too
we
many
we
things,
spent
and
like
now I
three
feel
quarters of the
depressed.
podcast talking about toxic relationships, and then we spent the last quarter talking about people mising us or ignoring
I
us, I
feel
should say.
depressed now.
Don't feel depressed, Kev dog.
I feel sad. What if I never find love?
Nah,
Sniffle,
you'll find
sniffle.
love, Kevin. You've got all the
Oh,
Staleys hoes. Okay,
oh
I never
God,
said that
Jesus.
though. I don't.
Stellies,
I don't want the Staleys
all the
girls to
girls
come
living in
after me.
Stellies, all the girls living in Stellies, come to me. I'll give you his address, and you guys can go fuck him up.
Don't kill me, please. It was a joke, I swear.
But yeah, I think that's it for today.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to our podcast again.
Thanks for coming
Um,
to the Valley of the Varbs.
yep. Please leave a comment on what topics you'd like to see next. Any questions you have. If you want a guest, put the guest in the comment section below, and I will try my best to get hold of them.
Kevin's gonna
Like
try
the
his best
video.
to get hold of all the girls in Staleys and tell them where I live.
Wow. Can neither confirm nor deny.
Whoa,
Um,
I'm I'm shaking in me boots right now.
like the video, comment whatever you want, comment what you think, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye,
Yeah,
guys.
cheers, guys.